going on, guys? Welcome to another week of me talking all about the Patriots. It's been a while since I've been on here, since the Patriots had a Thursday night game. So I was gone for a little bit. And then, of course, there was Thanksgiving and, all that fun stuff. So I am back finally after having some internet issues yesterday because I was going to come on here yesterday, but that did not work out. So here I am today, finally able to talk about the week 12 game against the Titans. Very exciting game, a little bit unexpected. I feel like I say that almost every week, but yeah, I was really excited about the outcome of this game and how they played for the most part. And so let's just jump right into it because I think this is probably the longest that I've ever prepared, like the most I've ever typed up to prepare for this. So let's jump right into it. Of course, we're going to do drive by drive so we can talk about all the good and all of the bad on both sides of the ball. So the Patriots won the toss and they deferred. The Titans came out on their first drive, which resulted in a punt. So that was kind of a good start for the Patriots defense and for the game in general. We know how the Titans played, at least for the majority of this season. They were very dominant, definitely a favorite in the AFC. And then, of course, they've had the injury bug hit them over the course of the last, I don't know, couple weeks or so. I mean, other than the Derrick Henry injury that happened a while ago. They did put AJ Brown on IR just a day or two before this game. So another huge benefit for the Patriots and a huge blow to the Titans. So the fact they came out and started with a punt is awesome. And there were good things that happened on this drive as well, not just it resulting in a punt. Throughout the game, Jake Bailey was killer. He only had one punt the entire game, but doing exactly what we expect our beloved Jake Bailey to do throughout the entire game. And the penalties were crazy for Tennessee in this game. They started off on the kick return with a penalty for offensive holding. Lawrence Guy got a tackle on the running back for -1 yards on the very first play of the drive. And on 3rd and 3, we got a sack once again from King Judon himself, which then brings him to 11.5 sacks on the year. And that play was kind of crazy too because they only had 3 rushing the quarterback on that play. And for some crazy reason, Judon was still able to get to Tannehill. So good on Judon. He was looking really good in this game as well. Obviously, he's looked great this entire year, but he got a sack on the first drive of the game. So I feel like that kind of set the tone for the defense throughout the rest of the game. Ron 94 is talking about we couldn't stop the run of the game. Yes, that is definitely a struggle. I will definitely be talking about that as we continue on. And all of you guys are saying hello, so I want to say hi. I don't want you guys to think I'm ignoring you. So as I said, this resulted in a punt, but with that 11.5 sack for Judon, he tied Chandler Jones for the 6th most in the season by a Patriots player. So he's continuing every single week to break these records in his first year as a Patriot. And it's only going to get better because there are 5 games left, I believe. Yes, 5 games left. So he still has plenty of time to add even more to his resume this year, which is great. I love it. I think people were excited about his signing to the Patriots. And of course, you want to believe that what you saw from him in Baltimore previously would continue on in his time in New England. And of course, even get better. And he's on that path already. So the Patriots take over and their first drive results in a touchdown, which with the issues that they've been having in the red zone this season, definitely good to start off from ahead rather than behind. So they got the the punt came to their own 31-yard line, but of course, like I said, Tennessee was struggling with a lot of penalties in this game, so they got penalized for an illegal formation and illegal motion, so they had to re-kick, which then resulted in a 47-yard punt and to New England's 48, and Gunner returned it for 15 yards, bringing it to Tennessee's 37. So huge mistake there for Tennessee. They definitely shot themselves in the foot on that one. Gunner has gotten a lot better with his returns. Obviously, he was an all-pro last year, so I'm not trying to shade him for last year. But at the beginning of the year, it didn't look so hot for him in last year. And this year, he's just continuing on with, the all-pro kick punt returner that we've seen in the latter half of last season. So that was a 32-yard difference in field position for the Patriots, which is a huge thing. Obviously, they benefited a lot from flags in this game. Fortunately, it wasn't something that they were giving to the Titans in this game, as that was also an issue at the beginning of the year. Um, the Tennessee Titans did get another flag on this play or on this drive, 2nd and 7. It was a penalty for defensive pass interference over Jacoby Myers, which was a very obvious play. Not at all surprising, as Jacoby is still being treated as the wide receiver 1 by opposing defenses. And I would say he is the wide receiver 1, but as we'll get into it, Kendrick Bourne is kind of stepping out as what appears to be almost the real wide receiver 1. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Everyone was being used on this drive as well. So they weren't coming in with, it seemed like, a very specific game plan to be using key players. A lot of people thought Jonnu Smith was going to be used a lot in this game because he was on the Titans previously. He was used a lot more in this game than we've seen over the course of the last few weeks, or really the entire season. I don't know that I would really say that it was a revenge game. Again, I know we like to use that term when players play their old team on their new team, but I don't really know that there was bad blood between Jonnu Smith and the Titans. So, when I use the term revenge game, I would say that there was some sort of hostility there, but unless I'm wrong, you guys can tell me in the comments. I don't think that there was anything there. Maybe some extra motivation because he's on a new team, but I mean, I don't know that there was any issues there necessarily. So like I said, everyone is being used on this drive. Harris, Myers, Jonnu, Hunter Henry, Bolden, Bourne, but no Stevenson on the first drive, which I mean, you have Damian Harris, so Stevenson isn't going to be taking the load of the running game, but interesting that they kept him off the field for the first drive. Jonnu was involved in the running game as well. My goodness. And so that's another player that we're seeing getting involved in multiple positions on the offense. We saw that a lot with Kendrick Bourne. Obviously, we see it with the running backs in Bolden and Harris occasionally. But they're getting wide receivers more involved in the run game, which is pretty cool. We saw it a lot with Kendrick Bourne, and now, I mean, I don't know if this is going to continue, but we're seeing it with Jonnu Smith as well, and that was a common theme in this game too. So he rushed for 9 yards. And that was when I was also talking, like, is it because it's the Titans, or is this what we're going to see going forward with Jonnu? It seems like Henry has taken on the lead role as their tight end that they want to go to, and there's obviously that chemistry there between him and Mac. Jonnu hasn't really gotten the same treatment necessarily, so I think they've used him a lot more in the blocking area of the tight end position, more so than actually receiving, having receptions. But maybe they're going to be trying to bring him into the running game as well. We'll see. Time shall tell. He's dealt with, injuries, and so we haven't been able to get like a really great look at Jonnu this season. So we'll have to see what happens going forward. Bolden had a reception for a first down on 3rd and 10, and then Kendrick Bourne got a 4-yard receiving touchdown. The extra point was good. That is very important in this game, as that is not the common theme for the Titans in this one. It was a great pass to Kendrick Bourne. He beat his man on the line of scrimmage. It was also another contested catch, which we've seen a lot with Kendrick Bourne this year, and he's showing that he can be really good in that aspect, and that is something that I think the Patriots have lacked. I think that was something that people had pointed out as like a point of emphasis, especially last year. That's where a lot of people wanted to see N'Keal Harry shine because obviously his size is a huge benefit for them. And we've seen it a little bit from N'Keal, but obviously not that much. As we're still sitting here waiting if he's going to be used more, which we have not seen. I don't even think, he didn't even get targeted, I don't think, in this game once. So interesting to maybe look a little bit into that as well. So this was their sixth, my goodness, my voice. Sorry, guys. This was their sixth opening drive touchdown in the last 7 games, which we talked about that a lot at the beginning of the year, was a huge struggle for them. They were not able to play from ahead. It was always playing catch up. And the Titans run defense was showing to be a problem early on, which continued throughout the entire game, but they have one of the best run defenses in the entire league, so it wasn't surprising at all really that Harris wasn't being successful, and maybe that's why they kept Stevenson off. Maybe they realized that it wasn't going to be an asset in this game. But the Patriots led 7-0 to start the game. I saw some of you were asking questions, so I want to see. Let's see. Joe is saying, after this game, are we ready to admit that Barmore is a good defensive lineman, but he's not on Will Fork's level on the run? Yeah, I think that he's been under the radar certainly a lot. I know that some media people have been talking a little bit more about him recently, especially because he's been highly graded by PFF, I'm pretty sure. And there is a photo that was going around from the game. I saw it from Evan Lazar, and I don't know if other people were posting it. I believe Barmore actually quote tweeted it as well. So he saw it as well. I mean, it happened to him. So of course he knew it happened, but he definitely saw the photo. And it was the Titans had like 4 linemen just trying to stop Barmore by themselves. So he's been certainly dominant. And definitely not on a Will Fork level yet, but he is a rookie, so we can cut him a little bit of slack there. So, but very exciting that Belichick has hit it off really well in the last 2 drafts, I would say. I know that people like to pick on him as a GM and say he can't really draft well, but he's doing really well as far as defensive and offensive linemen, and those positions are very important. It's not really like a swinging door, in my opinion. So yeah, I am with you on that for sure. Lucas says, Big Mac 10, baby. Yes. Raw94 says, are you convinced KB is our number 1 now? I'm not convinced yet. It's definitely leaning that way. I think that opposing defenses are not treating him that way, that they're not seeing him that way. And I think that's because, when we came into this year, it was clear that Jacoby was going to be the number 1 because he was the longest tenured receiver, basically. And I think that defenses are still treating Myers as that guy, but it's kind of hard to read and to prepare for the Patriots, as we know, because every single week is a different game plan with them. They don't have a very clear wide receiver 1, and it's been kind of a while since that's happened. So it's kind of hard to prepare for who you should be double covering or focusing on because, Kendrick Bourne had a really great game against the Titans, but maybe against the Bills, it's going to be back to Myers, or maybe N'Keal Harry is going to have a great game. We don't know. Let's see. Joe, Bourne is getting the advantage of Myers being covered like number 1. If teams start thinking Bourne is the number 1, Myers will get easier coverage and Bourne will get covered better. That's exactly what I was just saying. So at least Joe agrees with me, and I'm sure some of you guys do as well. He also says was a one disappointed that Harry didn't get 1 target from Hoyer. I'm sure, but I think there was like virtually no time left for Hoyer to even look his way. So, yeah, no, I mean, it feels like Hoyer at this point is the only one who really looks his way. So, shout out to N'Keal Harry. Some of us still believe that you got it, but it's not looking too good for him. So the Titans come in for their second drive, which resulted in a touchdown pretty slowly. This was one of the first drive that took a lot of time off the clock. It was for over 8 minutes. There was a penalty on Judon for offsides, which was weird. He's not penalized very often, but that did give him his 23rd quarterback hit on this drive for this season. Tannehill scrambled for 11 yards on first down, which was kind of annoying to see because I hate when quarterbacks are able to scramble and get first downs or able to go untouched, basically. Kyle Van did go to the medical tent on this play, and Hightower looked like he got poked in the eye. It wasn't ever said, I don't think, what was wrong, but based off of his reaction, it looked like he was poked in the eye. Thankfully, both of them were back in the game not long after they went out. Gotcha was absolutely dominant on this drive as well. He was tackling left and right all over the field during this play. He was credited with 5 tackles on this drive alone. So I think he's another name that is kind of going under the radar because, of course, on defense, we love the names of JC Jackson and Matt Judon, and we love Kyle Duggar. So Gotcha's kind of going under the radar there, but I think we need to show a little bit more appreciation for him. He was doing very good on this drive, especially throughout the game. So Tannehill did throw a touchdown to Westbrook, but it was originally not called a touchdown. But Vrabel did challenge it, as we saw, and he wins the challenge, so it was overturned to be a touchdown. I guess it was ruled that the Patriots, none of the Patriots defensive players touched him when he was down, so that was why it was overturned. But the extra point was no good, which was predicted by Ted Karras. If you watched the Patriots sights and sounds of this game, he predicted that he was going to miss, and that was correct. So kind of a weird timing thing, but I guess he just had a good feeling about it. And per ESPN stats info, that was the first passing touchdown allowed on third down by the Patriots since week 8. In the last 3 games going into this game, the quarterbacks had 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on third down against the Patriots. So dominant defense keeps dominating. This was just one of those slip-ups. As we said a little bit earlier, their run defense was not very good in this game. I don't know if that's something that we need to pay attention to and worry about necessarily, but yeah, that was a problematic area. The passing defense was phenomenal, but yeah, the run defense was not good. So this brought it to Titans 6, Patriots 7. The Patriots' second drive results in a 22-yard field goal. There was a deep pass to Jacoby Myers for 22 yards and then another one for 20 yards. So the drive started off really, really good. It's just unfortunate that it ended in a field goal. So this was an issue, again, that we have talked about as since the beginning of the season, that red zone issues. This was a game where that happened again, which we haven't really seen. But this drive started off really, really good with some really big receptions and runs, and it just kind of fizzled out towards the end. So after those big plays from Jacoby Myers, then you had 2 from Jonnu Smith, 1 for 16, 1 for 13. Finally get Stevenson on the field on this drive. But as I said, the run game was virtually non-existent for the Patriots. It just was not successful until later in the game, and I would say that I don't know if that's necessarily that it ended up being successful, or if I think it was more of the game was out of reach for the Titans, so they might have just been like, meh, at that point. No discredit to the Patriots running backs, but I mean, it wasn't working all season or all game long, so just a little odd timing for us to end up working towards the end of the game. As we know, Harris gets a rushing touchdown towards the end of the game. So the third and goal pass was to Hunter Henry, which was an incompletion, which was too wide. Mac did get bumped by Danico Autry, so this ended up being a 22-yard field goal by Nick Folk, who is very reliable, and of course he makes it. The drive started out with a lot of momentum, and it was looking like they were just going to march down the field and score really quickly and fairly easily. But those issues in the red zone reared its ugly head once again, and they had to settle for a field goal. Max showed frustration after that incompletion to Hunter Henry. So he's very much like Brady in that way when, you did a lot of good on that drive and you had to settle for 3 points versus 7 or 6 if you really want to be specific and true to a touchdown score. So I am someone who kind of likes to see that because he's just very self-aware, it seems, and he takes a lot of responsibility for things that, were his mistake, where it was an overthrow to Hunter Henry. So that brought it 6-10 Patriots. The Titans come in on their third drive with a missed field goal. So Judon was unfairly flagged for roughing the passer on second down. Which I saw one of you guys already mentioned this in the comments that it was a ridiculous call. And it was. Even in the replay when they showed it, it was very clear that Judon, which I've noticed this in other games too, when he's either tackled or sacked the quarterback, where he's very purposely trying to not have his entire body weight land on the quarterback. And that's what he did in this instance as well. Even the commentators of the game mentioned it. And it was talked about a lot on Twitter after as well. It's almost like he did like a push-up position. I saw someone talk about that on Twitter. You can tell from the replay that he didn't put his entire body weight on Tannehill. So I'm not really sure what the referees saw that they felt deserved to be flagged, because exactly what he did is what the referees have said or claimed that they wanted defenders to do when hitting the quarterback. So it was flagged anyway. And so that was a little bit annoying, obviously. This is when the run defense too starts to become more of an issue. Hightower did have a tackle on Foreman on 3rd and 4. Tannehill on the next play threw his first incompletion, which forced the field goal attempt, 44-yard field goal. It was not good. So that kept the Patriots up 6-10. Randy Bullock, who is the Titans kicker, had missed a field goal and an extra point in this game already, which hit the upright. And opposing kickers had made 62% of their field goals at Gillette Stadium this season, which is the lowest for visitors at any stadium this season. That's pretty amazing. And this was only their third drive, and he already had a missed extra point and field goal. So special teams gods were on the Patriots side once again. The Patriots take over on their third drive, and it results in a 37-yard field goal. This is when they kind of started realizing that the run game was not going to work. So they were getting Harris involved in the passing game with a reception for 12 yards. Isaiah Wynn once again was penalized for holding, which was his 8th time being flagged this season, which is the second most among NFL tackles in on the year so far. So I don't know that that's necessarily an issue. I think they're probably just flagging him, because it's an easy thing to call. Like we said before, holding happens on virtually every single play. It just depends on what the referee feels like calling at that moment, because some of them, of course, are much more egregious than others, but other times it's just like, I feel like they call it for the sake of calling it. There was a 1st and 20 pass to Myers for 38 yards. And then there was a first pass to Nelson Aguilar for 5 yards. So again, getting another guy involved in the drive, which I don't know how many receivers that made at that point, but virtually everybody on the offense, I think, was involved in the game at that point. So that brought them to a 37-yard field goal, which was good, making it 13-6 Patriots. Titans take over for their fourth drive. They start with a Hilliard run for 13 yards. Then there was a deep pass to 24 yards over Miles Bryant, which was something that people were talking about afterwards, where Bryant has been good this season, but obviously he's had some mishaps, and that was one. Last week, he also did not have his best game, but I think Miles Bryant has had more good moments this season than bad, so I'm not too concerned about that. Like, there are, some concerns from other people. Then Hilliard ran for 3 yards, and the ball was punched out by Gotcha. So I told you at the beginning to pay attention. He's very underrated. He punched it out at New England's 32-yard line. It was covered by Kyle Duggar. And Duggar, once again, was having a game for himself. I would say that it's quite a second-year jump for him, but I feel like he had a pretty phenomenal first year as well. But this year, it's like week in and week out, he's making big plays. So shout out to Kyle Duggar. Fingers crossed that he is able to play Monday Night Football against the Bills. He was put on the COVID list today with a positive test. They haven't revealed if he's vaccinated or not, so the timetable for his return is unclear at this point. If he is vaccinated, then he has to have 2 negative tests in a 24-hour period. And if he is unvaccinated, I believe he has to be out for at least 10 days, which would then result in him not playing in Buffalo on Monday. And because of how this defense is playing and how he's playing, especially, it would be a huge loss to not have him out there. So fingers crossed. We'll obviously have more info on that as the week continues, I'm sure. So the Patriots take over after the fumble. And it results in a 44-yard field goal. So they were keeping the running backs involved in the passing game on this drive, opening it with a big pass to Bolden for 19 yards, then a pass to Bourne for short gain, but it resulted in a face mask penalty on Tennessee. So good for Kendrick Bourne for getting that penalty. Obviously, I think he complained to the refs. Sometimes those kinds of calls are not seen. So Bourne was just so good in the game, and how getting that penalty was huge as well. The next first down was an incomplete to Myers. Then there was a short pass to Bolden for only 3 yards. There was then an incompletion to Hunter Henry on third down, which then forced them to kick a 44-yard field goal. So once again, settling for 3 points. Definitely better than getting no points, but when you're in the red zone, it's definitely not ideal, or at least within, scoring distance to get a touchdown. It's definitely not ideal to settle for 3, but 3 is better than nothing, which brought it 16-6 Patriots. Then this is where some problems became much more clear. The Titans take over and get a touchdown in 21 seconds. So there was 3 plays, 75 yards, and a touchdown. There was a near fumble by the Titans, which then was followed by a near interception by Kyle Van Noy. And that was credited to Dietrich Wise for the pressure he brought to Tannehill. So Kyle Van Noy, too, having himself a month, basically. The entire month in November was very much about Kyle Van Noy as much as it was about other players on the defense. I just think it took a little bit for him to kind of like get back into the swing of things as in the Patriot way. Obviously, he was gone for a year with Miami, and we're seeing that dominant boogeyman leader of 2019 back. So that is exciting. A 3rd and 3 play to Hilliard was when he ran for 68 yards. There were multiple missed tackles on the way. I believe McCourty was credited with 1 missed downfield. So that run defense certainly was exposed on that play. I don't really know what else to say about that play. It was not a good moment. And I feel like it wasn't really surprising based off of what we had been seeing in the run defense prior to that play. I think that they kind of just exposed a weak spot and did it so quickly, and it just kind of threw them off. Fortunately, they got the touchdown out of it, but it was not a trend that continued on the rest of the game. Even though they were able to run all over the Patriots, it wasn't something that ended up being a huge issue scoring wise for the rest of the game. So, and then per ESPN stats info, I have a lot of stats for this game, so bear with me. Hilliard's 68-yard rushing touchdown is the 3rd longest by a visiting player at Gillette Stadium since it opened in 2002. Melvin Gordon's 87-yarder in week 8 of 2017, and Ray Rice's, I feel like that it's been a while since I said that name. 83-yarder and the 2009 wildcard game are the only two that were longer. So shout out to Hilliard for getting that, I guess. I mean, shout out to the Patriots defense for not stopping the run in those 3 games. So definitely not something that happens often, as you can see based off of the records, but yeah, definitely a weak point in that game. Patriots take over right before halftime. 5 plays, 38 yards, 35 seconds, ends in a missed field goal. There's a big pass to Bolden for 21 yards, super high pass to Nelson Aguilar for 10 yards. Basically, it was a demonstration of Aguilar showing his athleticism, and he had to jump very high for that catch too. So that's another thing that I've said too, is like, he's very fast. He's a good downfield threat. We just haven't seen it a lot, and a lot of people don't really feel that he is a downfield threat, which is a little surprising to me, as we saw he very much was in Vegas last year. So I'd like to see more of that if possible. Then, yeah, like I said, 53-yard field goal was missed by Folk, which is whatever. They went into halftime a little after this and got the ball after halftime. So the Patriots ended the half with only 2.6 yards per carry. So as you know, we've said a million times, the run game was non-existent basically in the first half. Harrison Stevenson only had 14 yards on 8 carries for the entire first half. They allowed 8.4 yards per carry for Tennessee. So huge discrepancy there. Mac Jones ended the half 15 of 21 for 206 yards and a touchdown. And he did have some missed throws. So if you look at the box score or whatever you look at statistics at the end of the game, his stats are pretty good, but he definitely had some mistakes there. He had some missed throws, including, like I said, Henry 2 in the red zone, and they were 1-4 in the red zone, 2-6 on third down in the first half. So those issues that they were dealing with at the beginning of the year were very much present in this game too. So those halftime adjustments were very needed, especially against a team that could completely change things around after halftime. Vrabel is their head coach. They were 0-2 against the Titans under Vrabel coming into this game. And who out of any of the coaches basically that are around right now knows Belichick better than Mike Vrabel? He's had Belichick's number in the past. So it was completely possible that they would be able to come out and just completely take over the game. Let's see. Joe says, was that high pass to Aguilar a bad pass by Jones? It's kind of hard to say. I don't know if Aguilar was maybe supposed to be downfield more, or if it was just a high pass. I've noticed that some of the bad throws or the mistakes that Mac has made has been to throwing into double coverage or into really tight spots. And obviously those are it's not bad all the time, but we've seen it become an issue with Mac. So I don't know if that was maybe just like a panic throw type of situation, or I would have to rewatch it, honestly. But yeah, I would say it could be on either, but I would have to try and find a clip to rewatch it. What do you think it was, Joe? Let me see. Let me tell me your opinion on that one. So after halftime, Patriots come out with their first drive. The kick returned by Gunner, doing much better in this game. 37-yard return, penalty on Tennessee once again for a face mask. So that brought the drive to the New England 49. Johnny with another big reception for 20 yards. On 2nd and 10 from Tennessee 17, Mac was almost intercepted by another, like an underthrow to Jonnu. Thankfully, it ended up as an incomplete pass. Could have been very bad to have another turnover in the end zone, basically. Mac runs for 7 yards, was short of the first down, so they once again had to settle on 4th and 3 for a 28-yard field goal, bringing it to 13-19 Patriots. Now, this is when things start to get a little bit more interesting, but less interesting at the same time. More interesting as far as if you're watching the game, less interesting to talk about. The Titans came out and in 49 seconds fumbled the ball. So Foreman ran for 30 yards. J.C. Jackson forced the fumble, and it was recovered by Jalen Mills at New England's 37. So the Patriots take over, and they couldn't do anything to score points on this drive. So it resulted in a punt, which was their first punt of the game. So there was nothing special on this drive. There was a deep pass to Myers, which would have been for a huge gain, but Myers did drop the ball because he was hit while he was in the air, so he was not able to hold on to that. Mac was sacked on third down for negative 11 yards, so that forced them to punt on 4th and 19 from their own 41. Titans take over, resulting in a punt. Judon tackles Tannehill after a gain of 5 yards, and Mills had a key pass breakup on 3rd and 5, which forced the punt. So again, Jalen Mills coming in clutch on certain moments, not necessarily having the best games every single week, but he has those key moments that really matter in the long run. So that was one of those moments. The Patriots take over and get a touchdown in a minute and 43 seconds. Myers had a reception for 11 yards. They were still trying to get the run game going, but it was for -1. I mean, there was just nothing there in this game. Kendrick Bourne had a pass and runs for 41 yards for the touchdown. That's the video that I posted on Twitter today. I mashed the clips together from the locker room video that the Patriots posted, where he had the stiff arm, and Belichick was kind of giving him a little bit of a hard time about his stiff arm. So that was a really great play. And that was kind of when, that was the second touchdown of the day in general for the Patriots, but by Kendrick Bourne. And this is kind of when you start to look at Kendrick Bourne and be like, okay, we're seeing some really good plays out of him. He was able to score twice when they kept struggling in this game to score touchdowns specifically. So this is when you kind of start to look at Bourne and think maybe he's becoming the wide receiver one. I'm still not convinced yet. Anything can change. I think it really just depends on the game. So, as we were saying, or as Joe said, I believe, it's just going to depend on how the defenses view them week to week. So if Jacoby Myers is treated as wide receiver one, then Bourne is going to be open and vice versa. So we'll have to see what happens. Back to that Aguilar catch. Joe says, I think Matt could have placed the ball better with Aguilar at the half. I think it was a rookie mistake. Yeah, I think it was definitely an overthrow, and we had already seen that with Henry in the red zone. So it wouldn't be surprising to me. I just would have to rewatch it because I didn't rewatch it. But yeah, I think it was definitely an overthrow. I mean, Aguilar had to jump quite high to even make the catch, so it's pretty amazing that he did make it. But we haven't seen a lot of mistakes necessarily from Aguilar, so yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, but fortunately it didn't end up in, an incompletion or an interception. So that would have been a lot bigger of an issue for sure. The Titans take over on their third drive, which ends in another interception by Mr. Interception himself, or is it Mr. INT? I don't know what he wants to call it. Mr. INT kind of sounds cooler. So it was another long drive, another 8-minute drive by the Titans. On their first third down, Tannehill ran for 7 yards and got the first down. Hilliard then ran for 8 yards on 3rd and 4. Then there was another big pass to Fitzpatrick for 14 yards, which got them to New England 17. And then there was a penalty on Kyle Van Noy, which we haven't gotten a lot of in this game really at all from the Patriots. For a neutral zone infraction, which made it 1st and 5 from New England's 12. There was a touchdown pass to Pruitt that was broken up by Kyle Van Noy. So it kind of made up for that penalty and giving them those extra 5 yards. He broke up that possible touchdown pass on 2nd and 4, which was from New England's 4. And then instead of continuing to run the ball, this was the thing that was a little bit more shocking of the play calling for the Titans. Obviously, the Patriots benefited from it, so I'm not necessarily complaining. It's just kind of a head scratching moment. They were completely dominating on the ground in this game, and yet they decided to pass for a touchdown. And I don't really understand why, when you were, like I said, dominating on the ground. They had 237 rushing yards. So, I mean, I'm still confused on that play. It's like the Russell Wilson play in Super Bowl 49. Like, why were you passing it? I mean, similar but different. Because I don't think it was necessarily a bad play call in Super Bowl 49. But there was a pass that was intended for Cody Hollister, Patriots legend Cody Hollister. It was tipped by Devin McCourty and intercepted by J.C. Jackson in the end zone for a touchdown. That was the 7th interception on the year for J.C. Jackson, 24th interception since 2018, which is the most in the NFL during that time. And ESPN Stats Info said that he is tied for the 3rd most by a player in the first 4 seasons since the 1970 merger. So this guy is playing to get paid, and we can only pray that the Patriots will be the one to pay him. And over the last 4 games for J.C. Jackson, he's just insane. He has 4 interceptions, 4 catches allowed on 4 targets for 19 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a 0 passer rating. So this man is trying to get paid, and that is something that I've been saying since we went into this year. I was excited that they were able to keep him with that second round tender. I'm just hoping that Belichick doesn't disappoint us all and get rid of JC Jackson. I think that at the beginning of the year that maybe people weren't too focused on it because they still had Gilmore, and they were hopeful that there was going to be some sort of resolution there to keep Gilmore long term. And now that that is out of the realm of possibilities, JC Jackson is a very, very key person to re-sign this year. The secondary is important, and it's not easy to replace those players. I know that Belichick likes to not pay guys a ton of money. He likes to get rid of guys or let go of them before they become too expensive. I really hope that because JC is so young and he's developed so well and he's playing out of his mind this year, that Belichick will see that and see the value in keeping him. And he deserves to get paid. He's a clear quarterback 1 this year. As skeptical as I was coming into the year, he's proven me completely wrong. So hopefully that is something that will be treated as important for Belichick coming into this offseason, because I don't know that you're going to be able to find another cornerback that's playing as well as he is right now. So the Patriots take over after the touchback, of course. The run game this is when it started to pick up a little bit, and that's why I feel like maybe this is when the Titans defense was kind of just like over it, or we're just kind of, didn't think that anything was going to happen in the run game. Anyway, I don't know, but it started to kind of click now, and it's awfully late in the game for it to finally start working. So it's just a little like, So Stevenson was in over Damian Harris at this point. 2nd and 4, Stevenson ran for 10 yards. Then he broke multiple tackles for 19 yards on first down. Mack was sacked on 2nd and 11 for -10 yards. And then Mack hit Myers for 7 on 3rd and 21, which forced a 52-yard field goal. So once again, issues scoring more than just a field goal. At that point, Mack had hit 310 yards for the day, which was his new record high in his short NFL career so far. The 52-yard field goal was good. It was Folk's 5th 50-yard field goal of the season, which ties the franchise record with Gostowski, who actually was at this game. I don't know if you guys saw that. I don't know if it was a video or photo. It was video. Yeah, Gostowski was actually in the stands at this game. And if you didn't know he was there, I don't know that you would have recognized him. I believe he has a beard and he had like a beanie on, and I think he had sunglasses or glasses? But I was kind of shocked that he was like in the stands and not in a suite or a box. I was kind of surprised, but hey, Gostowski was great on the Patriots, so that was really cool to see him there. Because we haven't really heard much from him since he left the Patriots and then went to the Titans, and then I think he had to retire because of back injury or something like that, hip injury. I want to say it was hip. But yeah, that was pretty cool to see. The Titans take over and get nowhere. 4 plays for -4 yards and a turnover on downs. So Tannehill was kind of strip sacked on 2nd and 10 by Bentley for -8 yards. So he forced the fumble, which was then recovered by Tennessee, which was then fumbled once again by Tennessee. And recovered by Tennessee at their own 21-yard line. Third and 14 was an incompleted pass, a near interception once again by Jalen Mills, which forced a 4th and 4. And they went for it on 4th and 4, which was a little surprising because of base where they were on the field. I I mean, I understand you're trying to win the game, and at that point you're like, this, we got to go for it on 4th down, sure, but I don't really feel like that was 4th down territory when you're on your own 21-yard line. You're basically asking for the opposing team to score at that point, and that's exactly what ends up happening. So they go for it on 4th down. It was an incomplete pass. It was tipped by Hightower at the line of scrimmage, so the Patriots took over from the Titans 21-yard line, score a touchdown in 48 seconds. Harris goes for 7 on 1st down, then runs for 14 and a touchdown, bringing it to 13-36 Patriots. Then the Titans get the ball back and they fumble. So on 2nd and 7 on New England's 43, Blasingame fumbled, was forced by Kyle Van Noy and recovered by Tavai at New England's 42. And then Brian Hoyer makes his way into the game, doesn't find N'Keal Harry. And that was my attempt at a wink. And takes knees to end the game. So the Patriots end it 36-13. And before I get into all my lovely stats that I have, I want to see what you guys are saying. Joe said, if Belichick doesn't think he can afford J.C. Jackson, don't be surprised if after the season, before J.C. officially becomes a free agent, Belichick trades him. Yeah, that is well, yeah, I sure hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't. That's totally possible, but I don't even want to put that into the atmosphere. Oh, that scares me. Joe says if he ever gets in sync with Aguilar, there's going to be more long throws for sure. One of my favorite things to always talk about is Aguilar was 18 yards per reception last year, so it's there. And I was, one of the very few people that was excited about Aguilar and always talked about him being a downfield threat. And we just haven't really seen that this year so far. Hopeful that we'll see that eventually. I don't know. We'll see. And Joe says going for it on 4th down in that area is a show of confidence and how much intelligence is on that staff. Yes, that is true. And I mean, it was 4th and 4, so I mean, it's possible, but just, a little bit bizarre because they, like I said, field position, and they weren't getting a whole lot done in this game. So I feel like it's a little bit overconfident, but it is what it is. It ended in the Patriots' favor. So what can I complain about? So for all of these stats I have prepared, guys, I have a lot. The Patriots won their 6th game straight, which is the longest winning streak in the NFL right now. They got their first win against Tennessee under Vrabel. Like I said earlier, they were 0-2 coming into this game. Defense tallied 4 turnovers. Mac had a season high passing yards, and he now has 5 multi-touchdown games. So Justin Herbert owns the record for a rookie with 10. And Mac, compared to the other rookie quarterbacks through week 12, their quarterback PFF grades, Mac is 83.9. And the next below him is Justin Fields with 64.2. And our rival in the Jets is all the way down at 56.3. So Mac Jones is absolutely dominating all the rookie quarterbacks this year, which a lot of people were not foreseeing, considering he was the 5th quarterback drafted this year, fell all the way to 15 right into the Patriots' lap. And I don't know if any of those other teams that drafted before him are regretting their decisions, but I'm sure in some ways they're regretting their choice in allowing the Patriots to draft him. I'm sure that's a bit more of their regret. And Chris Collinsworth had tweeted about him too, and I wanted to make sure that we talked about it. He said Mac Jones is the best rookie quarterback. Reason why? He's throwing a casual pass 85% of the time. That's the best in the entire league. So once again, another aspect to Mac Jones' game. He might not be the flashiest of all players. He might not be making the most clip-worthy throws, the most exciting of all games to watch. He's no Justin Herbert in his rookie season, but he's getting the job done, and he's doing enough to help the team win. So I think that's what matters. Like, I would much rather have that happening than, have a highlight reel in every single game because he throws a nice football. I mean, that's just me. Everyone's different, but um, continuing on, so the Patriots had 10 total drives and only one punt in the entire game. They kept Tennessee to only 93 yards receiving and 270 yards rushing. So that obviously is not good. The 93 yards receiving, great, but 270 yards allowed on the ground just makes me worried a little bit for the run defense. That was an issue, a huge issue last year, and should have been addressed this year. I would say that they have the players there to make this not an issue, and it hasn't really been for the majority of this year. But coming against some teams like Jonathan Taylor on the Colts is a little concerning. Hopefully they can get themselves together before that. We also have James Robinson with the Jags coming up in week 17, I believe. So those two dominant guys in the backfield, it's going to be an issue if they can't get this together. The Titans were playing with second, third, fourth string running backs yesterday. So got to get that together, because I am not going to be excited about going against those guys even more. So Bill Belichick broke some records again. He now has as many wins with the Patriots in the regular and postseason as the rest of the Patriots head coaches do combined, which is insane. So Belichick has 389 games and 282 wins, and the rest have 613 games total with 282 wins. Is that not insane? That is absolutely insane. This is a franchise that's been around since the 60s. And Belichick has been around obviously for 20 plus years, but he has as many wins as every head coach previously. That's insane. If people want to question him being the GOAT of all coaches, then I would refer to them as, to that stat as well on top of everything else. The Patriots have won 3 straight games by 20 points or more, with obviously Mac Jones under the helm. The only other team with a rookie quarterback to have that all time was the Seahawks with Russell Wilson in 2012, week 14 through week 16. And we know how dominant Russell was very early on in his career. Definitely not the same Russell that we're used to seeing this season, especially before his finger surgery and after. I feel like you can cut him a little bit of slack now because he came back from a severe finger injury. Maybe he rushed it back. I don't know. But yeah, Joe says it tells you how bad our former coaches have been. Yes, that is very true, and how great Belichick is. The Patriots completed their 6th undefeated month of November in the Belichick era. In 4 of the previous 5 seasons that they did that, the Patriots made the Super Bowl. Now, Rich Eisen tweeted that, and I am very superstitious, so I don't really like that I shared that tweet, but I found it very interesting. Something to keep in mind, not implying anything with that at all, but something maybe to keep back here. Very interesting statistic, if you ask me. The Patriots have outscored their opponent 211-63 during their 6-game winning streak, and they are now 4-1 under Belichick when giving up 250 or more rushing yards. They won a game last year too, I believe. I think yes, I believe that they beat the Dolphins when they allowed over 250 yards. I believe it was last year. And since we were talking about wide receiver ones, and is it Jacoby Myers? Is it Kendrick Bourne? I have a stat for you guys. Kendrick Bourne, as a wide receiver, this is per Boston Sports Info, in a single season, among wide receivers in a single season. So he has more than 500 rushing yards. He's averaging more than 14 yards per reception. He has a catch rate of 79% or more. The only receivers to ever do that since 1992 are Kendrick Bourne this year and Tyler Lockett in 2018. So if anyone were to take over that wide receiver 1 spot, I'm thinking it is going to be Kendrick Bourne. But we'll see how the weeks go. I definitely, coming into this year, we liked that connection that Mac had with Kendrick Bourne. And we're just finally getting to see that continue into the regular season. So anticipate that to continue, especially as they are going against some difficult opponents. They still have to play the Bills twice, the Dolphins, the Colts, and the Jags. I believe that's their last 5 games, not necessarily in that order. um, I but those are going to be some tough games and are really going to show you who this Patriots team is. Um, and this Monday night game is going to be huge. So I'm glad that they have a reliable guy in Kendrick Bourne. Obviously, the Bills defense started off as no joke. So we'll have to see. And this, as far as going to the playoffs and making the Super Bowl, since I kind of just alluded to it, and I don't really like to because I am superstitious, but according to 538, the Patriots for the rest of the season, their chances of making the playoffs are 90%. We know that they are number 1 in the AFC East right now and number 2 in the AFC in general because the Ravens did not lose on Monday to the Browns, or no, they beat the Browns. If they had, then they would have been number 1 in the AFC. To win the division is 45%. To get a first round bye is 22%. And to win the Super Bowl is 10%. They're only behind Green Bay, Arizona, and Tampa Bay. Those numbers have changed so much since the beginning of the year. They're still going to change a bunch from now until the end of the season. But very cool to see their chances get better, seeing the team get better as every week passes. They're just getting better and better, knocking on wood. Hopefully it continues that way. There also have been major improvements with ball security. Weeks 1 through 6, the Patriots had 8 fumbles and 5 of which were lost. Their opponents had 3 fumbles and 2 lost. And weeks 7 through 12, they've only had 3 fumbles, 2 of which were lost. And their opponents have had 10 fumbles and 4 of which of them were lost. So that was definitely something that we talked about a lot on here. Especially with the running backs, we know that Damian Harris was kind of put in the doghouse a little bit. Stevenson was put in the doghouse. I think JJ Taylor was put in the doghouse. So, it's definitely gotten better. It seems like the defense is taking over that role of making those, getting those fumbles and getting those interceptions, which is definitely much better than the offense committing them. So, very exciting there. And let's go over the stats for the defense and the offensive line. So for this game, the coverage stats: JC Jackson was 2 of 3, 10 yards and an interception. Jalen Mills was 2 of 5 for 15 yards, 2 pass breakups and a touchdown. Miles Bryant was 1 of 2 for 24 yards. So people wanted to criticize Bryant. He had one bad play. Obviously, he allowed 1 for 24 yards, but he was pretty good for the rest of the game. Granted, it was only 2 passes his way, but still. Kyle Van Noy had 3 pass breakups, which is a career high so far this year. He's had 9 passes defended for this season. Again, killing it. 2019 Kyle Van Noy is back. Dietrich Wise had a pass breakup, and so did Devin McCourty. Total, they had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, 9 passes defended, and 4 quarterback hits. The offensive line pass protections versus Tennessee, where Trent Brown allowed a sack and 2 hits. Ted Karras allowed a sack. Jonnu Smith allowed a hit. Isaiah Wynn had a hold, and the team allowed a sack and a hit. That was according to Mark Daniel. So usually when he says that the team is credited with the sack, it's not clear and obvious who is to blame. So very good defensively, much better offensively on the line. We know that we had a lot of complaints about the offensive line at the beginning of the year, but we finally have Trent Brown back. We finally have a normal rotation, a normal set in stone offensive line. So everything is getting better. Knock on wood once again in that area as well. Let's see what you guys are saying before I hop off. I wanted to make sure that if you guys are Celtics fans like me, that you would able to get and watch it in time. D22 Williams says, on the plus side, max NFL passer rating is 123.2, was the highest in the entire NFL in week 13. Did I already say that? You might have, and I might have missed it, but yeah, no, he's very accurate, and people want to call him a dink and dunk quarterback, which I think is kind of ridiculous, but regardless of what he's throwing and how far he's throwing it, he's very accurate, and he's very close to setting a record for the accuracy. So that's not something that a lot of other teams that have rookie quarterbacks can say. They don't have very accurate throws. So I'd much rather have that. And maybe if he's a dink and dunk quarterback, I don't care. He's doing enough to make the team win. So Hanif says, "Hi, Sarah." I say, "Hi." Ron 94, yes, this game against the Bills is going to be a knockout dragout fight. Yes. Yeah, that's how it usually is. I think that it's going to depend too what Bills team shows up. We haven't seen what the Bills have were doing at the beginning of the year translate to the last couple weeks. I know a lot of people want to credit them with some dominating win over the Saints, and I think that's ridiculous. The Saints had their third string, I think, running back playing. Like, and who do they really have offensively? It's just like I don't know. I mean, they have Trevor Siemian playing quarterback. I don't know that um, you know, that win over the Saints is anything that we should be like applauding or making you more nervous about this game. I think Josh Allen can be scary. I think Stephon Diggs can be scary. I think this defense can be scary. So those are things that we should definitely be on the lookout for. But the last few games for the Bills have not been that great if you exclude that. I mean, even Josh Allen threw 2 interceptions in the first half. So, completely winnable, but it's definitely going to be a challenge, especially not playing them for the first time until December. So, we didn't even get to get a shot at them at the beginning of the year. And playing a team in December, that's usually when the team is working well together and has kind of clicked already. So, a little bit concerning. Not going into this, confident necessarily. That's how I am though. So, it should be a good game though. Joe said, "Was the criticism for Steve Belichick's play calling legit or just haters?" I it's hard to kind of criticize it when they had 4 turnovers. I think that the run defense was simply a problem, obviously, in this game. But I don't know how much of that really falls on the shoulder of Steve Belichick. I think that he deserved criticism at the beginning of the year, as I mean, Josh McDaniels did as well. And he still does sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what their issue for this game would be with his play calling. I think the run defense I think is people's biggest gripe, which is completely fair and should be, a concern, obviously. But yeah, no, I would say it's probably more so haters. People who are nitpicky. There's some Patriots fans, especially, that they're really never happy unless they play a perfect game, which doesn't really exist in the NFL. So I would say I don't really pay attention to those types of people. If they have some sort of legitimate critique, then sure. But yeah, no, I would say that that wasn't really a fair criticism. But anyway, thank you guys for all your questions and thank you guys for tuning in with me again today. Um, we'll see how the rest of the week goes. I would love to be able to come on here on Saturday and maybe we can talk about, pre-gaming for the Bills game. Maybe on Monday I can be on here. We can talk all about going into the Bills game on Monday night. But other than that, I don't have much left to say. So I will see you guys later on and we can talk all about the Bills. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great day and go Pats.